I'm glad.
I'm
Uh,
rolling with the punches.
okay, that's good stuff. I have marked your assignments, your F2s, just so
I
that you do know. Just some quick feedback on that. With both of you, right?
yeah.
Delivery. So with delivery is not up to standard. Do you understand? So particularly with Katlejo, right? So your delivery is okay, but it's far too read out. Does it make sense? There's just too much being read out, and I can hear it. You understand? When you do read stuff out, because prep is prep, you understand, and a script is a script, you have to learn how to make it sound very natural. You had certain points in your podcast where you diverted a little bit and you gave me a little bit of you, but it was so little, do you understand? That you depended, yeah, that's the word, I think, on the script so heavily that it became a bit robotic. You understand? And the one podcast was just a far too far. I did take off marks because it was only half the time. You only did a 2 minute one. So just as a report back, I said in terms of your news, and I'll get to you in a moment, Christos, because yours was odd to me. Anyway, Koteko, with your news, from my thing is you have to learn with vocal control, with voice. I'm saying like in voice coaching and vocal control, you both of you. I'm just saying in general, you need to find bass in your voice, so it has to have foundation. So the thing is that with you, Katlego, you're speaking out of your nose, so which is something that makes it sound very weak. I'm saying that the delivery doesn't have any foundation, right? Because you speak out of your nose and not through your chest. Okay. You will see that there's a difference because I can actually project across the room right now, right? Because I'm speaking from my chest. And if I bring it up a little bit and I'm speaking from my nose, it becomes I have little breath actually to speak from or use. Like it's very strained as well. You understand? And the thing is, because yeah, my thing is that look, as a podcaster, there's a lot of variance, and again, we're going to speak about that today because that's what Summative is about, right? Uh, there's variance in personalities and whatever it is. It's so massive, but if you want to do broadcasting, you're going to struggle. I'm saying Katlego, because you need to find power in your voice, and that's going to be a problem. I'm saying to you, you still need to learn how to do that, right? So because it's not strong enough. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? Right. It has to it has to demand attention, right? So you don't have to speak louder. Sometimes you do because you have to project, like I say, across the room, but you don't shout. That's the thing. It comes from the chest. If you can move, I think maybe I did that in one of the lessons. I'm not too sure. But what happens is you have to be able to move literally your voice from your chest to your throat to your mouth, from your mouth back to your throat to your chest. You understand? You've got to be able to control where you're delivering from. Do you understand? And then you'll even see in news, for example, wherever it is, it doesn't matter when you're delivering, you won't need big breaths either. It won't be loud like that as if you are struggling for air, but it also changes your tone as well. And the thing is that with tone, my the voice coach that they used for me when I went to commercial, she said it has my problem wasn't my voice. It was about command in my voice. And she the way she trained me was about how conscientious I am in owning. Do you understand? Like what it is that I'm doing, the space in a studio. Do you understand? And owning the obviously the position, the role of a broadcaster, like really finding my voice is how she taught me to find bass, confidence. I'm saying to you, like power, again, that kind of like liberation in that particular space behind the mic, you understand? And it changed. My delivery went to from because I was very fast as a kid. I'm saying on campus radio, I was very good. I'm going to get to you in just a moment. I got your hand, so I see your hand up, Gustavs. Right. So I was a very good presenter. Obviously, that's why I got to commercial. But the thing is that I spoke far too fast because I thought pace meant energy, and I was constantly and umming and hawing and this and that because I still have my shows from campus, because I like to collect my journey, right? Very good. But I was a very different presenter than when I did get to commercial because I learned that energy and pace have have a lot to do with one another, but not in the way that everyone thinks. You understand? So being high energy just means being able to put yourself passionately in what it is that you are and building on your personality. Because if your personality is not high energy, you cannot be high energy on air because you're just faking it, right? So anyway, just as a pause, because you had your hand up, same.
Yes, I'm so up. You know what? I'm so fascinated by what you just said.
Hmm.
Uh, what do you mean by saying owning your voice? Okay, put it this way. My
Hmm.
voice, you see right now, the way it speaks is because
Yeah.
I'm here. In the morning, it sounds different. During
Sure.
the day, I believe it sounds different.
Yeah.
And when I was recording the podcast at work, it sounded okay. When I'm here, it sounds a bit different. Now, what does it mean owning a voice? If you could maybe elaborate there, because
The,
I don't know,
the ownership.
you know what that means.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Look, ownership is a it's a short process. There's not a lot of steps to it, but the thing is that it takes a lot of practice. So in other words, one is knowing. So you got to first of all, you have to obviously listen. Definitely, always. Like again, I keep saying this. I even because I'm even now I'm packing, I'm moving. Right, I still have my first show on Tux on like cassette tape. Right, and I listened to my like when I listened to it because I still have a cassette I'm saying player anyway and the stuff and obviously I knew nothing on my first show, nothing at all. Everything was nasal, but not only that, I spoke as if I spoke in real life. Does that make sense? I had no and I would sounded terrible, but I mean obviously like I was put on radio because you have to grow. I mean like you're on campus, you're in community, you're going to grow, right? But the thing is, I sounded shocking. I'm saying in comparison to how I will sound now. You understand? So but it came because the thing is, I wasn't conscientious about how voice, you understand, makes such a massive difference, which is ownership. I didn't find my voice. I hadn't found my voice for months past by. I think it was about 6 to 8 months, right? Specifically because in those first 6 months, I was trying to be like every great jock that I had heard on radio before. So in doing that as well, and my boss was very like he was very upfront with this because that's what you need to be, right? Said to me, listen, dude, like I will like in the next 2 weeks when we had reselections, right? Because every 6 months we'd go through a reselection process, right? He said to me, I'm going to fire you if you don't start, like, I'm giving you 2 weeks of shows, which was the overnights that we were busy doing at that time. And he said, if you don't sound like the person I interviewed, like a you version for radio, then I'm sorry, I don't have anything for you here. And yes, and this is what I'm saying about ownership. My fear, genuinely, was that people wouldn't like me if they knew who I was. Do you understand? If they got to know me. Because, I mean, radio amplifies your insecurities massively so. And so the thing is that I did then, however, say, because I mean, I was struggling for time there as well. Like, and I said there, if I am myself, I'm going to be myself. Obviously, learn. I'm an academic, so I learned all the skills up to that point. I knew what was what and how to do a link and this and that, whatever it is, right? And I said that if I now I'm gonna go on air and I'm gonna be myself first of all. If people don't like me, I'm saying then I'm not supposed to be on air because you have to be liked by the listener. That doesn't make any sense. So then I must make peace with it and move on. Otherwise, anyone was going to get fired as well. But for myself, it was a challenge. Like I was very scared to reveal who I was, not because I was ashamed of myself, but because you're open to so much criticism. Never mind, like in your own class. Like let's say at school, man. I mean, again, because I was extremely bullied when I was in standard six and standard seven, right? And then everything changed because I changed, right? My fear came from that. That was like 30 people in a class, whatever it may be. And that's 30 people that there were enough people in there that didn't like me, you understand, to bully me. The thing is that now I'm thinking thousands, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. We had up to 60, no, it's 67,000 at Tux, right? Um, of so many people that are gonna not like me. I'm saying it's a mental thing as well. And that's why I say it's about an ownership thing. So when I went on air, I my personality did work. It did work. Because obviously while I wouldn't be here many, 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 many years later. Also, I wouldn't have been on air and Tux for much longer than that if it didn't work, right? So the thing is that I put my craft, like which is the again, it's the obviously the art of the skills that we are using on air and my talent. You understand me as a personality together to be able to know. Listen, yeah, I get it. And the more you know you have a voice, the more you know you can use it in the correct way, which is why it obviously contributes to the way that you sound. Again, there's that power and there's that confidence and that ownership. As I said, I can use many other synonyms, but there's no better way to explain it. Do you understand? And it's not about arrogance. There's a healthy ego that everyone has to have on air specifically as well. Is it you are the voice for people. So you have to be a little bit larger than life, not celebrity mode, but if you want to speak for a broad audience to them and for them as well, like you best be able to grant yourself the ability to command attention. Do you understand? So your voice has to have foundation. It's got to have that strength. Do you understand? Does that make sense? Good,
Yes, yes, thank you so much. Ah, thank you.
good.
Okay, you can continue.
That's good. Um, Hazem Velo, I'm glad that you could join us as well. Right. So again,
So
yes,
I'm good. I'm good.
good. I'm glad. Um, I'm so confused. Look, I'm so lost with. Oh yeah, no, it must. Did you get hold of the grant? Did you manage with your F2? Did is there anything that happened?
Yeah, I sent him an email and he sent me a response. He said basically there's no late submission, so I couldn't submit late.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is that I know, as far as I understand, there aren't any subs for the short course. Like you do. We don't have subs. I haven't seen one yet. So it hasn't been sub. I'm saying that I don't think we have subs that you can do. Anyway, it's okay. You must just do your best, please, for this one, and possibly yeah, we'll just have a look again. All right. But I'm glad he did actually get them back to you as well. It's just, and I'm not defending Grant. The thing is that Grant is he's part head of obviously the department, but he also because he works outside for Prime Media within their yeah, I didn't even know department. It's not the programming, it's in their I think it's in their creative department, right? Uh and so he's here and there, which is why you won't get an immediate response, but you need to obviously keep trying. You understand? Just in general, if you do have queries when it does come to Grant. Again, I can't give his number out. You're only allowed the lecturer's number. All right. Okay. All right. So again, here's my other feedback for this. Okay. Delivery in news. So yours was quite good, Kateko. I did quite, I think I gave you some compliments as well there. It was quite good. Gustav's, on the other hand, it was it was very abnormal, right? So you had, because what was odd to me is when I heard the delivery for both the sports and the news, which was so incredibly slow and incredibly like again abnormal. When you got to your podcast, which was great by the way, just well done on that. Like it was so good because you were speaking like you had, I'm not saying you can't have personality in a news broadcast. Sports, yes, sure, a little bit, right, but like the delivery was so different, and I don't understand why. Like, can you tell me?
Yes. Okay. Let's look at I like to contrast the podcast versus the news reading.
Mm,
Remember, on the news reading, if I recall, tell me if I'm correct. If I recall correctly,
yeah,
there was the sports story. The sports story, we had compressed it, right? And it
yeah,
had to be delivered in a sort of slow manner. But the difference between the podcast is because the podcast I was just talking like I'm talking to you now.
I get that.
And I found it easy for
Yeah,
me to talk to you like I'm talking to you now,
yeah, it was very
as
good.
opposed
That's what I'm saying
as
to you. Very
opposed to
good.
reading. Yeah.
Mm, no, no,
As
but
opposed to reading.
I get that. I get that. But you see, my thing is that in whatever study that you are doing, like you're trying to
Yes.
become a professional, you need to be able to know how to do all things. Does it make sense? So,
Yes.
so for example, you should be able to be like I say, a news broadcaster as well. Know how the delivery changes there as well as being a podcaster, as being, let's say, a presenter. Right? These are the three. These are the three. Now, let's say just versions, right? That we can think of at the moment. Okay, not like a field reporter, not a contributor, not of this, not a co-host. Let's just think of like these three main roles, right? Um, but the thing is that it was far, like I say, I know you were trying to get it right. Does it make sense? You wanted to get the
Yes.
words right. You wanted to, and you're thinking that pace, because they listen passively, they need to get everything. But it was so slow and abnormal, right? To say that it was just, it was really, obviously, I mean, I'm going to say it wasn't great at all. The stories were fine, you know what I'm saying? To the story, like I say, both of you wrote stories that were good. Again, obviously, I mean, I commented on where you could fix it, but you didn't do badly. My thing is, again, in the execution, that really needs a lot of work on both your parts, just in general, right? Kateko, little bit much. No, no, you were marginally, I'm saying, to a great extent better than Christos. But I don't, you see, your why I'm going to carry on about it just for a little longer is that in your head, you have the wrong interpretation of what a news broadcaster should sound like. And I want to be able to clear that up. Why? What is it that you think they need to, because you know what a news broadcaster sounds like. What is the difference between one that you've heard and one that and the way that you delivered? Yes, go ahead, Kasaz. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Can I ask something? The scripts. Are we supposed to get the scripts back? I've only seen the marks
it's being
because
moderated. It should be more. It was. I told
yeah,
Grant on
yeah,
Friday because because I only marked him on Friday, and I said to
yes,
him on Saturday, I said I finished the stuff. So he obviously did obviously internal moderation if the marks are
yes.
out. If you can't see the comments, because things I did accumulated comments. So I would put comments in the beginning section of each section, you know, for all that happened.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. But I'm
okay.
saying to you, they should, yeah. The only reason why you wouldn't be able to see any comments is if there's a fee outstanding. Do you understand?
I got you. I
Yeah.
got you.
Okay. But once
But now,
again,
let me,
yeah, tell me.
maybe before you go even further, let me just get a picture.
Mm,
On the podcast, that 4 minutes podcast that you asked us to do,
yeah.
there was social media, and then there was the green energy thing that we were
Yes. Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
When you look on those two podcasts on my side,
Mm.
which one was delivered better? Is it the first one or the second one? because I'm about to tell that. I got on the second one because I understood quite a lot more. It came sort of natural, the second one. The
The,
first one, remember, I did a lot of research.
no, I know, but I could hear it was it was it had it had really great body, and again, the way that your delivery was really good. I'm saying because you had this again there. Now you have this nuance of power. Does that make sense? Like when I
Makes
say
sense.
power, you knew what you were talking about, and you knew how to put like the inflections where they needed to be. Do you understand? To push a point clearer. Do you understand? And to bring someone, and like I said, I was very interested in what you had to say because I didn't know that. I'm saying to you, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. I did again, just in terms of so with the feedback with Katlejos was obviously the one was far too short, and the other one was pretty good. I was like I say, I was happy with it was handy, I think, because you did the tips one, right? Was that the longer one? Which one is the shorter one? Katlego, I know you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself there? Yeah. Yeah. Tell me which. Yeah. Was the tips was the longer one, right? Yeah, that one was a good like because I learned something, and I know it was um what people might consider and what I call vanilla in certain aspects. In other words, it might look like vanilla. Vanilla means like I mean, there's only one dimension to it. But I learned something, which means it wasn't. It looked like it was vanilla, but it actually wasn't. There was a little bit of richness in there as well. I quite enjoyed it because in 4 minutes, like I say, within the limit that you had there, like I learned something and I was like, cool. And you also, but oh, here was my thing, right? The endings, like your endings were that's where I had a problem with Katlekos. Like the ending was a hardly a nothing because you just had one thought, like one sentence, and then you threw out again very generically to how they could contact you or where they could comment. You understand? But it needed beef, like you needed a stronger ending. Um, with yeah, does that make sense? So it was cool. Everything's fine. Then at the end, it was like all of a sudden it was done. And I was like, no, that it needed more. You understand? You needed to walk me out a little bit more strong, like a strong thought. I'm like, okay, that's cool, whatever it is. So just avoid the generic, okay? The very kind of generic, like just kind of pass out whatever it may be. All right. And then just with yours then, because there's on feedback on the podcast, like I say, as I said, once again, and last time I said, very interesting for me. The only thing was in the first one, um, you you focused very strongly and you were convincing me about just quickly your main focus was just quickly tell me again because you really
The,
pushed at that hard.
the focus was to see if the risk factors associated with social media are they
Oh,
comparable to
yes, okay.
um, um, to gaming and gambling.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
found that very, like I say, I found it that's what I found it was new. But your segue between the brunt of it, I'm saying the beef, like the middle, hey, that segue from there to the end for me didn't make any sense. Doesn't make sense. So in terms of that one, I say that the second podcast was a better segue. Do you understand? And so in that I made some commentary, but generally, like I said, it was a job well done. Okay. Right. Okay. So let us get into the briefing for. And what I will do is I'm going to go through the briefing, right? We will then meet one last time the week of the submission. So you have to submit on the 31st. Let me just share that screen there. Where is this thing? Right. Okay. So you must submit on the 31st. That's what Grant said to me today. Let's check. Uh, There you go. Yeah, 31st. Right. That Monday. Right. We are going to have another session, so I can check in with anything, with how far obviously you are, because that means you must be somewhere. You understand? You must be quite far in. You understand? Um, but uh, but one last check in, and one last, and anything else that might you might need clarity on. Okay. So just like I say, obviously I will remind you, but bookmark obviously that Monday, please, so we can finish strong. Let's go through the summative. It's very short, okay? Where the marks are okay, and it's all practical. So here's obviously where you do your full-bodied 10 to 15-minute audio podcast, right? But you're going to create, obviously record, edit, and you're going to promote. All right. So anything like, because the thing is that you're creating this channel on Iono, right? Or Spotify, one of the two. Your channel has to be like professional, but like properly professional. It's got to have a logo, it's got to have cover art, and it's to have a good bio that obviously you write in full. Do not put a 2 or 3 line bio, because that says nothing about you. You understand? Put a nice thing about what this channel is about. You understand? So, and remember that uh, you are, so, and I'll show you my channel again. I call mine the Chris Jordan Media Podcast Series, because I do a number of different series. I do 2 new series every single year, right? And I'll add on to that. So the thing is, if you're only going to stick to one, I'm saying series, you must call the channel the series name. Do you understand? Because if you're going to, I'm saying, what's the word I'm looking for? But indefinitely, right? Indefinitely do a podcast that is about, let's say, how horse whispering works. Then that's what you need to name your channel, something catchy, and it's got to be just about horse whispering. Do you understand? Right. Um, Otherwise, you got to name it the way that I did mine, and name it your brand, right? And it doesn't have to be your name and then like mine, so very basic and straightforward, right? I want to keep it in line with my actual brand, which is Chris Jordan Media, right? So, but it's got to be something punchy and catchy, whatever it is, and make it interesting. Do you understand? Your This is your decision forward, because once you obviously create this, ideally after this entire course, you should be wanting to continue as a podcaster. That's ideally what it is. And yes, I push that you should be on radio, but I know a lot of you don't sign up for this course because you want to do broadcasting, you want to do podcasting, right? Note that, once again, I will say podcasting is volatile in terms of if you want to try and look for a way to do a podcast, there is no recipe, right? Because there's just far too many far too many diversities in terms of trying to understand, is this how you do a podcast? But this person's doing it differently. That person's doing it on top of a mountain. This one's doing it from the back of their garage. But it has context. Do you understand? If it works, it has context. This one's NSFW. This one it's child oriented. Like, you can't, it's being delivered or presented by children. You In terms of that, there's no way to tell you how to do a podcast, like I'm saying, in one way. There are many, many different ways that you got to do it. But obviously, for it to be successful, it's got to be like edited well, it's got to be scripted and prepared well, it has to be presented well, right? And it's got to be a story that you are telling. It doesn't have to be the best podcast in the world, because it never will be the best podcast. Whatever is number one in the world for now will not be number one for very long. Do you understand? It's going to continuously change and change and change, because the medium continuously changes and changes, and the demand on it also changes. So whatever people are facing in different countries, different cities, different whatever it is what they tend to want to gravitate to for information. So, like maybe we find in Spain, that, let's say, cooking podcasts, and I don't know what what the number one podcast in Spain is, but perhaps maybe it's got to do with, let's say, cooking, right? But just next to it, maybe in Italy, Italy is concerned maybe with, let's say, a recession, right? So a lot of people will listen to financial, money, this type of stuff. You understand? Political. They'll be focused on that because that's what's important to them at that point. So what you need to know is at the end of the day, for me myself, there's only one series of mine, the 15-year journal. I actually don't like. I don't think I didn't do it I did it so averagely, and I don't know why. The intention was good. I didn't take it off, but I didn't like it. Do you understand? When I had vision for it, so you must also know, man. Like for me, when I do promote and I re-promote a lot of my podcasts, I will not re-promote the 15-year journal. I'll leave it there because I'm not embarrassed by it, but I know by far it's not a great podcast. Does it make sense? So you need to know at the end of the day, what you are aiming for is a great quality product. That's what it is. Not the plays that you're going to get, not the, like I say, the attention or whatever it is. You must think of your podcast as having some kind of lifespan. Do you understand? That's what I do anyway. So what I do is, so again, we have a lot of podcasts super famous because they are extremely timelessly um, uh, topical, right? So in other words, we have a ton of podcasts that are obviously news based, right? And the news dies after the moment it doesn't become new anymore. So what they're going to do is they're going to have a bunch of listeners, tons, hundreds of thousands, whatever it is, or thousands of plays that day. Do you understand? Because it's an update on, and it is like a breakdown or discussion or whatever it is around, doesn't matter. But it has to do with only that particular day and isn't important anymore. So you get the ones that are time stamped, and then you get ones that are not. In other words, at any one point, someone can find your podcast in 5 years' time and still find it valuable. Do you understand? I see more value in that. I'm not, but I see absolute value in the ones that get the one-time play by many thousands of hundreds of people. You understand? Um, so you know that's your choice as well, right? The moment you like I say, you specialize it around like I say, points in time. Note that it will 10 to 1 again not be relevant at any time after that then. But do what comes naturally to you, please. Something that you're very passionate about. That's what podcasting is for, right? And not to please people. I'll tell you why. Because there's too many podcasts out there. And the thing is that if you aim to please people, you will fail, but miserably in terms of the product, right? Because only an extreme niche of people are going to come across slash be interested in what you have to say. So while they come across your podcast, let them enjoy the product and let them leave. Does that make sense? Sometimes we might bookmark certain creators, right? Like 95% of the time, we won't tolerate a podcast longer than 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 episodes. Nothing more than that. You understand? The ones that get obviously a consistent amount, again, we always have to talk about Mac G because that vodcast, which is actually more now a show than anything else, right, has is a talk show. That's what it is, right? So you're going to go back, let's say, every week, like you would if you watch SNL or if you're watching a late night talk show, and you're going to watch that, right? So same thing goes for streaming shows. Again, stuff that it's actually radio, but it's streamed live. In other words, it lives digitally and so is considered under like some version of a podcast. You'll go back just like you do for any other show that you enjoy, and you'll obviously listen to that. But when you do go across, because your tolerance and your interest changes so much, let's say, and I keep using the same thing, right? Um, Like again, mine is the one that I have become stagnant on and have stayed on for 2 years now is this Dr. Tony Evans, right? Again, because religious podcasts are very interesting for me specifically. But again, I before getting to Tony, right? This Dr. Tony Evans. I went through, I mean, I'm talking about 20, 30 different religious podcasts that were interesting for a moment and then there was repurposing in there. Then they were missing for a week. I'm saying this person would go MIA for a week. Then like it became very biased, which you are allowed to do on podcasting because we want obviously. But then I didn't like the person. I was like, I don't like this person. Unlike radio, where you've got to really like properly think about what you are presenting because you have to be liked no matter what by a massively large audience all the time, right? Anyway, I didn't like the person I was listening to. So I said, why would I hang around any longer? Like there's so much to choose from, right? Anyway, up to this very point, I'm saying, like this particular podcast that I have listened, like I say, unusually, and it's the only one I've listened to for so long. That's one out of the many, many I have. You will do the same thing 10 to 1. But I've listened to many podcasts and throughout many, many years, I just got bored because not because most of the time they were boring, but most of the time I wanted to listen to something else because we're so opinionated in podcasts as well that are, I'm saying the podcasts that are not like, again, that's why I approach them in series. Like you get it, you listen to it, you end it, that's it. You learn something, move on. But the ones that have episode 136, 2042, which you find, right? Man, who's got time? You know what I'm saying? So just choose your lane. I'm saying pick your lane carefully, right, on what it is that you want to do with this massive, with this. It's a big deal to start your own podcast. And yes, you're an extremely tiny, like amoeba in a massive ocean, right? But that doesn't matter because at the end of the day, your product needs to be good. And I'm saying you as a brand need to stand out because you never know who is listening. It might be monetized. It might go viral. You don't know, right? But you know for sure that the quality and you as a professional have done your work, right? So that's my big fat introduction and well, like I say, chat about podcasting over and above what you are and know in the lessons. Right. Question one, channel creation. You're required to create a podcast channel on either Iona or Spotify. The channel should have an appealing name, a well-written description, and appropriate branding. In other words, you must go create something professional for that logo that you're going to put there. You'll see that Iona and Spotify are very temperamental. I'm saying to you, like it must be like the logo needs to be this and this type resolution. It's got to be this and this. I'm saying width, length. The banner needs to be there. You've got to also go set a number of different things as you are setting up the channel is where a lot of the work goes into, right? But do it once properly. Put all your external links in there. Put the stuff that might be narratives or scripts or whatever it is that you need also per, let's say, podcast. I'm saying episode that you put in there. And two, I'm saying to you, never mind this now, this S1. You must say to yourself, I need to stick to either once a month, once a week, twice a month, and nothing less than that. I'm saying to you, if you're going to start an infinite, so like I say, an indefinite podcast, right? Not seasonal. So and then stick to that because then people are just going to be like, I don't care anymore. Like you don't care, I don't care, and they'll just move to something else, right? Anyway, so please, everything to be able to get those 20 marks. You see, the mark allocation is very big. Now, the podcast recording, you must create your channel's first 10 to 15 audio podcasts. Please, you'll see the edit is very important. So you'll do a podcast that might be 30, 40 minutes long, but you need to edit it down. All the rubbish must come out. And again, you're not here to change the world. If it's informative, right, to any one particular person in that niche, you did a good job. Does that make sense, right? And that's the way that I'm going to be marking it. Like if you're having like a standard, but it's an interesting and relevant conversation about something that has been spoken about a billion times over. I don't care. I'm saying to you, is the podcast good? Like, did I enjoy it? Did I listen to the end? Obviously, when I'm marking, I have to listen to the end. But if I've tuned out here in a 15-minute bracket, by 3 to 5 minutes, if I am bored, like it's done. Like I'm saying to you, like the other people will be bored too, and they will stop and they won't come back to listen to the rest. Anyway, so the content should be engaging, original, relevant to the chosen theme, like niche. The podcast should also have a clear introduction, a body, and a conclusion, right? So what is nice and what a lot of people do is that they normally create like a small, like when you release your first episode, there's only like a 2 or 3 minute podcast on its own as the introduction to this particular podcast channel, and then they'll release episode one alongside that introductory upload. So the introduction is where you're going to say about who you are, what the channel is about, blah blah blah. Kind of give me some insight, still keep me interested for, like I say, the 2 3 minutes. But episode one starts bang, like right on where you want to go. You understand? Again, kind of like you learned, with a bit of a hook that get demanding attention. Say something interesting, and let's flow with what you are saying. Right? Okay. Um, and with the conclusion, I like dramatic conclusions because I do parts. I do. You can't do it in this one. Obviously, you can't do part one, part two, part three, which is what I normally do, right? But a conclusion also can be a dramatic ending. Do you understand? So if it ends, I'm saying when it ends, whatever you have been talking about must have made sense and mustn't have left someone like going like, well, what does that even mean? You understand? Conclusions can be dramatic endings. Like I say, without you having saying, "Oh, thank you for joining me for the podcast. Don't forget to do this or this or that, or whatever it is," which a lot of people do as well. Again, this is also theater, a little bit of theater as well. It's entertainment at the end of the day. Okay. And again, as I said to you, if you're going to say to me about Chris, like there's so much that that you said in variants, it's because I said to you, like there's there's a very thin line that you can attempt to draw between what you can and cannot do in podcasting, right? Number three, editing and uploading is also 30 marks. You need to record the podcast on your smartphone and edit the audio using any free audio editing software like Audacity, right? So with your edits as well, specifically Gatlejos, like you had edited out words, which was not good. It didn't sound like it. You must be careful in your editing, right? It must sound organic, natural, moving on here, there, not abrupt, not weird, not like whatever it may be, right? Uh, and and that's something that we learn, but here you need to learn fast because you're being marked. I'm saying to you, right? So edit the podcast for clarity, removing any unwanted silences, any repeats you might have said. So if you said a point twice, it didn't come through clearly, there wasn't a great answer if you're chatting to someone or whatever it may be, right? Then leave that out. I'm saying leave it out because it's going to be boring and irrelevant anyway. So just edit it out. Once edited, it must be uploaded as episode one. Give the episode a name as well, please, right? On the creator channel with an enticing description to that particular podcast. So remember, there's a channel description and then there is a podcast description as well. Okay. And if you need, which you should ideally, create a different, oh man, it depends again. If you're deciding to go with one brand, one product, right? Then you must use the same logo all the time, right? But if you're going to do, like I say, seasonal podcast, series podcast, you must go create a different branding, like image, a logo, right? That you have to upload. Anyway, but fully, like I say, full bodied. Everything must be there. If there are hashtags that you need to do, just like if you can need to categorize it properly. If you must put any, like I say, like warning signs, like this is for adult only, like you must say that it's 18 and above, so that you, because no one I'm saying to you, no one cares. I'm saying if you are like gross, I'm saying to you, whatever, if you want to do NSFW stuff, go ahead and do that if that's your brand, right? I don't care, but you cannot do what I've said to you before. You cannot be uh don't blaspheme, please, just in my presence. Like, I'm going to have an issue with that. But also, many other people will also have an issue with you. They will not want to be, they won't want to be associated with you. Don't blaspheme other religions and that type of stuff, right? You cannot do hate speech. You may not be racist. You may not be perverted. You understand? So have some talk. You want talk about like fetishes and in gross ways and in child like trafficking but I'm saying like you can talk about trafficking, but you may not go and endorse it and be like, oh, these are what that's why it's so great to, like, don't, you can't do anything of that, right? You might think you can, because I said anything goes on podcast. I'm saying in the podcasting realm, but those things, please, you may not talk about. Two, four, should I say, right? You need to promote this. So when you go now to social media, it's very important that you have a creative digital strategy for promoting the podcast itself. So ideally, what's always nice, you have a variation of stuff because you're going to be promoting the podcast in many different ways in different platforms, right? On TikTok, it must be a video. You must do a video or an interactive session or whatever it is. You must have done like a TikTok live that you split up or whatever it may have been, right? About, let's say, something that you sprung boarded, right? So you whatever it is, you bounced off this particular obviously core center of what the actual podcast is, because it's great pre-promotion or it's great post-promotion, right? There's many ways that you can actually use it. If you're going to go on Instagram, you may do something that's branded. It must be branded well. Specifically for Instagram, you have to use a captivating caption, right? And the correct amount of hashtags. Do you understand? And the correct type of hashtags. Don't go for trending ones, please. I'm saying to you, please don't include um like something that's trending that's out of the context of your podcast. All right. You may use any other trending tags that have to do with like the theme or the context or the content of this particular podcast. Cool. All right. So you must do it on, like, for example, you must choose Instagram and you must choose TikTok, or you must choose Facebook and you must choose Instagram, or you need to choose X and you need to choose whatever it is. Just be very wary. Like I say, with X, for example, you best do, like I say, something like 16, 17 seconds of audio, video, something, whatever it is, to captivate someone because of the nature of X, and it's too fast with too much. So you got to make sure that the post that you're also creating fits the understanding of how people process and you know what I'm saying to you, media on there. That's what I'm saying with TikTok. Like you there's so much garbage on there, and you know that, man. You know how TikTok frustrates you because the thing is, oh, there's so much rubbish. When I say rubbish, like you will start watching something and the video doesn't even end properly. Never. Like, because the thing is, they want you to keep on looking and don't be going to their channel to see part 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 19, because all they are interested in is like thousands and hundreds of thousands of views, right? If you do that, I'm going to give you obviously 0, 1, obviously, because it's manipulative and it's very irritating. Use the platform, please, correctly, right? And again, if you need assistance, like I know everything about digital strategies. I can help you with that. For myself, I don't really apply them because I'm not interested in becoming, like I say, influencer or hitting whatever it is. But I know exactly how to help you if you are lost at any one point or questioning what it is that you need. Okay, so that's the whole thing. I know I've had a lot to say, and I've kind of said it aggressively. Didn't mean to come off that way. Just need to be very, very clear, right? You have to have your cover page. You must obviously include the link, right? But the screenshots of your editing must be provided, right? I know you can, and how would I know differently, right? Please don't get someone else to edit this for you and take the screenshots and sell it as your own. Because then what was the whole point of doing like this whole thing? And then you're going to go now, and continue these podcasts. And then it's going to be rubbish because you don't even know, you haven't even practiced how to edit your own stuff, please. Audacity is simple, and your podcast should be edited simply because it's not a radio documentary and it's not a radio drama. So there's no need for complexities. You understand? All right. Okay. Good. Let's quickly go down to the rubric so you can see how you're being marked, right? Creativity and originality, right? For the channel, 5 marks, right? Organization and ease of navigation. I want to just be able to click and then be able to see underneath there. Oh, there's the first episode because that's what it'll show. Do you understand? Like I'll click on and then it'll be obviously as you create the channel and then the podcast, like I say, you can only create one on a free, you can only create one channel on a free account, right? Which is fine. Please just note that free accounts will demand that you must upload a podcast every 60 days, right? Otherwise, it's going to cancel you. It's going to block you out, right? Anyway, organization and ease of information. So any other links that you also want to be able to put in there to your other social mediums, please put them in there, describe what it is, click here, click there, whatever it is, right? Visual appeal, again, with the graphics, images, colors, that's got to fit. It's got to be nice, nicely done, professionally done. Take some time, and you don't have either an excuse for that as well, because you have been editing photos for Instagram and social media for years. So you have those apps on your phones. What I advise you to do is download the ones that are social media apps. I'm saying media, social media creation apps. So they will give you the right dimensions. Obviously, they'll give you a bunch of templates that you can even choose and use from, but it'll allow you overlays. It'll allow you much more professional. I'm saying fonts and the way that you can manipulate the fonts and the colors and everything. Please go and download those apps to be able to create some cool, like I say, some cool branding, right? The description of the channel, right, is then obviously, please, engaging, informative, also 5. Right, so the quality of the content in the podcast itself, 10 marks, right? The clarity of the message, right, in that 10 to 15 minutes, once again, 10 marks. And the organization, did it flow properly? Did it make sense? Did I want you to listen on and on and on, and you went from one natural progression to another natural progression? Fine. The sound quality. So again, for me, my thing is that I can't always, and I hardly ever record in the studio, right? I think I've got maybe 2 podcasts that I record in studio. What I do and why mine work is because I claim that, and mine is always somewhere else. What I do is I record on location, so it's always somewhere. So like, mine's excusable. I always say it's excusable if you can sit. If I'm sitting in a kitchen and there's a bit of an echo, I don't care, because we're supposed to be sitting in a kitchen having tea. Or I am outside and I'm attending an event and I'm talking to people. Then there's going to be some wind, but obviously I'll pick a place. You mustn't be like uh, uh, just kind of disregarding everything, right? Because it's not gonna have good sound quality at the end of the day. I'll make sure that if I'm at an event, I'm far enough away so that there's enough background noise for atmosphere, but also it's quiet enough so I can get a good, clear recording. And then I'll be, like I say, recorded some while we are driving in cars or things like that, while I'm having a group discussion. It doesn't matter. It's normally somewhere else. So it's on location. And in terms of that, like, the sound quality must be very audible, right? but also ambience will come through, and that's fine. If you want to now do a quote unquote studio recording one, then you need to again soundproof the room. If you're going to do it from home, right, and you're going to do it there, you need to soundproof the room that you're going to record from. You got to make sure that you clean the phone. So there by the mic, you're going to take like this. It's you take the earbud, but you got to really like take off all the cotton, right, for you to be able to get in to that little itty bitty. There's a small hole where if you're doing a recording, that's where it sounds most obviously. That's where you record by. Manage the mic. I'm saying on the phone as well. If you speak directly, you're going to distort, right? You got to practice and see what sounds better. You have done some recordings already. They weren't the best, right? They weren't bad either, but you want to be able to push for the best. Okay. If you are, like I said, so if you're selling me something that is a studio recording, either you go to a studio and record it there, or you got to create your own makeshift studio at home, right? Okay, editing quality. So again, every time like I hear a transition that isn't correct, if it's up and down, it's this and that, and there's different inflections in wrong places because your editing has been bad, you're going to lose the marks there. And then time management, -2 marks for every 10 seconds over or under the 10 to 15 minutes there. Okay. Right, the creative use of social media. So you should use at least 2 different social media platforms to promote your podcast. Right, demonstrating creativity and effectiveness in your promotional strategy. Right, your digital strategy. Right, again, and you're going to give it. You're gonna snapshot that particular post. Right, or no, and no, let me just say, you must give me the link to that particular post because I want to go and view it on the actual platform, see how it works. Did you crop correctly? Did you use it right? Like I say, everything in there, right? Um, and common mistakes that previous students have made in this course is that they go on TikTok, for example, and they put an image there. No one cares. No one cares about your image on TikTok. Like it must be a video, for example. Or the image is not it's not well proportioned. So they didn't go and create it according to the promotions of an Instagram reel or not. Do not do a story, right? It must remain somewhere or to an Instagram post, again, Facebook, whatever it is, please, like I say, know how to use that. Otherwise, you're going to lose the marks there. And engagement, right? I do understand. So if I see that you have, like thousands of followers, and they do not comment or they do not like or share, then I'm gonna be wondering where these followers came from and why they're not saying anything, why they're not doing anything, right? So in your social media post, I suggest create a call to action. In other words, ask for the engagement, push for the engagement, say something that's not controversial, but sensationalized to push for that, right? Because then you've either bought the followers or something. That's the only reason I can think of that if you have thousands, I'm saying, right? If you have 300, I can maybe understand if maybe only 5 people like, let's say 5 people might like it, right? But then I'll go check let's say if it's a reel, I'm going to check the views, right? And the views should at least be like, I don't know, man, 2, 3, 400 views, right? Okay, if it's a reel, definitely on TikTok, come on, a lot easier to get some plays, especially with, like I say, if you want to push a little bit more provocative, thought provoking, should I say, content, then go ahead and push them for a reaction. Cool, great. That is the end of the briefing. Right. So, I hope that it was showing because I did. Oh, come on! Did it not share the document? Are you kidding me, guys?
No, no, no. For me, I was listening because remember we've got it, so it was easy to see what to follow you
Oh
while
my
you were talking.
word!
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question.
My
You want
word!
us to market the podcast
So
at the same uh
I'm so
You
sorry.
can hear me, right?
I can hear you. I'm just really upset that because I shared the damn thing. Like there are so many words right now that damn it. Okay.
Yeah, but we,
Okay.
we we do have it, Mos. We already downloaded it, I'm sure.
Okay.
So
Good.
we
All
didn't
right.
lose out on anything. And now here's my question to you.
Yeah.
Okay, the window period is between the 27th and the 31st to
Mm,
upload.
yeah.
Now let me just probably put this to you. Uh, let's just say I do this thing and I complete it before time.
Sure.
Uh, should we start marketing it now? Should we start to get engagements now?
Yeah.
And so that by
Yes.
the time the 27 or 28, whatever the date we upload to, is
Yeah.
the data's already there.
Yes. Sure. You can do that.
Okay.
If you're happy with that and you can do that and you want to work ahead, and that's fine. Again, the other way too, for now, I'm saying to you, just please just ask some of your friends. Like we create smoke and mirrors is fair
Yeah.
enough to understand, especially when you are starting something out. And again, I don't, again, I will speak from someone that did not encourage engagement on social media, and I learned that very quickly. I'm saying specifically with Instagram and my Facebook business page. I dealt with only information giving, and it is extremely hard to train an audience that is already used to your product in one way. Does it make sense? To
Mm.
try and make them do something else because they won't. So the thing is that, for example, when I started with TikTok, right? It wasn't that I was asking for engagements. The live stuff is very engaging. Like I don't even know where these people come from. I can't explain to you. But TikTok's obviously when you do a live session, people have clearly nothing to do. I'm saying around the world, there are random people that just join, and a lot of them, man. Like like you could have like 23 followers, and then there's like 2,200 people in that one live session for because you went and you just you predicated, I think that's the word, right, in the correct way. But my thing is that create the culture you want on there first. So if you haven't quite advertised yourself in a certain way, then rebrand. I'm saying on social media. Does it make sense?
Makes sense.
Alternatively, just to finish my train of thought, because I know I have many trains of thought, go and create the smoke and mirrors. Specifically, this works well with YouTube, right? Okay. So you ask your friends and your family to please tune in, let's say like a YouTube live, right? And it works well for TikTok and for IG Live specifically, right? Ask your friends to tune in so that they can also. It looks like it is. I mean, they are interacting with you, but it looks good to other people. It looks like other people that people were interested enough in engaging. So smoke and mirrors is a very natural thing in entertainment because we have to sometimes train a listener, a viewer, a consumer how something works. Does it make sense, right? And for them to have a little bit of faith in what it is that we are doing, they can see how it works or whatever it is, and for that, like follow the leader. That's basically it. So you may also just ask friends and family to please kind of engage whatever it is. What I'll do is I want to see how you engage with them. Does it make sense? So should they be sharing some comments? What are you saying back? Are you just putting little smiley faces or laugh faces? Like when they've said something that you could possibly have said something back. Does it make sense? Right?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
then you're
Now
missing an opportunity.
let me
Yeah.
ask one more question. So we'll create this logo, and so we are more than allowed to use it for the school, but also now we can use it perpetually.
Yeah, no, this
Um,
is this
would
is
that be
please your
okay?
thing. You're just by
Fantastic.
the way being marked for this. You understand? So
Yeah.
this is now something you're going to put a lot of. The thing is, putting it you when you do this, you're going to put a lot of effort into it, right? So this is supposed to be the beginning of. If you haven't already got a podcast, I'm saying the beginning of this brand that now you're going to like obviously like upkeep and whatever it is, you understand, right? And commit to is what I'm saying. So you want to put in, like I say, and go and do this for yourself and what you're going to continue with. Makes
Thank you
sense?
very much. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Other questions, Katlego?
So I do have a question.
Venom. Yes, go ahead.
So I just want to clarify. Uh, let's say we do have a channel maybe that we want to upload in, and we have videos there, but we want to start afresh and use this assignment maybe to start afresh. So
Yeah.
I'm just asking, would you be okay if I wiped out everything and then just maybe have that video up there?
Do not,
Or
so it mustn't be a video, eh? So
no?
particular, so
Yeah.
don't vodcast, podcast. Okay. You're more than welcome if you want to push two sides. So a YouTube channel, do you understand, right? Where you're doing the vodcast and extract the audio for a podcast, you understand, that resides on, like I say, Spotify, iTunes, whatever it may be, right? Okay. Like you're welcome to do that. But yes, the thing is that I don't know. You can go create a brand new channel. I'm saying, like you can erase everything that you don't like. I mean, it's your channel at the end of the day. You understand? So like rebranding is always done in private. So because the thing is again, like there's no need for people to see you while you're messing around. Do you understand? I I've rebranded maybe I don't know 2 or 3 times. I'm sure. Like in my career, I suppose, with certain channels or whatever it is, and especially with my landing page and the work that I do. I'm saying within the company, right? I did it extremely slow, and I did it's extremely meticulously so that I would learn. You understand? Like the process and learn about quality and learn about delivery and learn about consumers and learn about analytics and learn and learn and learn. You understand? In quote unquote private. Does that make sense? So very few people can see the growth until you become used to it and you've got some cool stuff that you'd like to actually put out. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So you can do it. You must do it at your own, like I say, to the point where you are confident with what you've got and want to share with the world, quote unquote, as well. Right.
Yeah. So another question.
Sure.
So you primarily we must post this on Spotify and not YouTube.
If you
Or if
post it to YouTube, I'm gonna have you have to also that's your own thing because it's a podcast then, and then you have to go and edit. And then I'm gonna be marking you on video editing. Never mind audio editing, which is a lot easier. So that vodcast it must have the correct imaging. If it's going to have its captions, if it's going to have like obviously or like you're gonna if you don't do please auto generated subtitles because that is always a big fat mess. Like you have to actually put in those. You're going to use the right program. I'm saying the software to generate that stuff accurately for you. Like you've got to have like a great logo. You've got to have transitions, segues, that type of stuff. Then you're going to be marked in a video environment, right? But ideally, like that's what I'm saying to you, like an audio environment, like you're going to have a lot less stress. Makes sense.
yeah, so you advise us to put it on Spotify.
If you I'm not gonna so what I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not being funny like in the way that I'm saying that. If that's what you want, if you want to put on YouTube, then go ahead. If that's where you want to build your brand, you understand? I don't mind, but I will then mark accordingly to a video format. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So just note that because you just speaking to the camera for me, I mean that's I know a lot of it doesn't matter what the world is doing, and a lot of people do that, but it's extremely boring. Do you understand? Like and vodcasts normally don't, or the ones that are direct to camera, obviously, right? Don't really last that long. They're not that long. I mean the interesting ones what 4, 5, 7 minutes maybe to a push. I'm saying to you, right? If you are interviewing somebody different, because now I've got some other thing to look at as well, and someone is interacting, blah blah blah. But then you also have to have a good setup. You got to create a bit of a, like I say, like what are you sitting on? Why can I hear both of yous? Can I, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Yeah. Okay, be careful of the sound as well with video, because then you must find a lapel rather, not just your phone. It's not like it might not be there might it might be not ugh, man, it might not be loud enough. Like I'm just saying to you, it could be the sound. I just am looking now at a friend of mine, and she had just a sidebar because she decided she's doing a vodcast, right? It'll also reside in podcast platforms, but the thing is that she had three different cameras, right? A boom mic and a lapel, right? And it still turned out rubbish, because right, the thing is that the people looked, and I'm not saying it's still fixable. It definitely. I mean, the first draft that I saw today was shocking, right? Because the technique was wrong. Do you understand? And when you can't even sync the audio because the audio was here and there. I'm saying on the different. I'm saying where the audio is being recorded, including the lapel, right? It was missing segments and whatever it is. It was a big fat mess. Saying to you, it's a ton of work to be done. I'm saying be careful of that as well. Even with so many resources, and still it turned out rubbish. So just be careful with that. Try to really minimize your do risk management, right? When you're doing video, do risk management, like and try to really minimize the risk of it looking, sounding bad. All right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that answering your question?
Yes, sir.
Good. I'm glad. All right, more questions before we close. Katleko, I haven't heard anything from you. Or Tommy, I will do it. Yes, I can send it. I will send it now. So I really apologize that it wasn't showing on screen. I mean, I literally did share it in the beginning, and I didn't make a mistake on that. Just didn't do it. I will share it with you like now, okay? And I'll send it on the group. Is that fine? Okay. Yeah, I
Yes,
will.
sir.
Okay. More questions. Anything
Uh,
else?
so if we do it in video formats, the most important thing you want is to see us, ne? Is to see the person on screen.
Yes, but you have to captivate. You can't put, let's say, a stagnant image. You understand? Like a stagnant image is going to then all be dependent on theater of the mind, and you might not achieve that. Do you understand? And so it could be a risk. So rather you being there in an animated version, and say when animated, like you're going to be charismatic, you're going to have facial expressions. Do you understand? Like something that can someone can watch. Does that make sense? Right.
Yeah.
Rather than like I say, it being like I said, just your voice and a picture or something. Because then you might as well have just done a podcast. Like I'm saying, an audio one. Okay.
Yeah. So as long as also uh the most important thing is to not be boring, right?
I guess so, yeah, because you know what the thing is, the rule of thumb is people will tolerate let's say a low quality production if it's super interesting. Does it make sense? They will tolerate it. They'll be like, I don't care. Like I'm saying, if I can hear you and it's like like this is really interesting, like they won't care that it wasn't edited well enough or it wasn't clarity like studio clarity. They don't care,
Yeah.
but because it's told really well and it was interesting for them to listen to. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So definitely.
What
Yeah.
about how much do you care about eye contact and body language?
Again, if it's visually, the moment you lose eye contact with me, I'm saying to you, let's say you're not interviewing somebody, you understand, right? Which is also like you must also worry about the way that it is being the angles at which you're filming, right? Okay. And then you should have you remember there must be if you're interviewing someone, there has to be three cameras. one for the long shot, right? And then one for each for a medium shot on either one of you. You understand, right? So it will be able to focus on almost like a third like a third of your face. You understand, like a third frontal of your face. Um, if you are talking to me as a viewer, you must talk to the camera. Do you understand? Like you
So
can't be wandering your eyes around and here and that. Yeah.
I'm sorry to disturb you. Um,
No.
are we still able to come to school to see the studio? Because at some point I was trying to know how to set up these three camera thingies and which software to use, but I struggled so much. I still even struggle right now to be able to, you know how some content creators use these softwares where they can share their screen, right? And just have a little camera there at the bottom. I still struggle with that also. I don't know how to do it.
Oh,
So
like when they're
is it
recording, like let's
yeah.
say you're recording in Zoom. I'm saying like a Zoom like thing, and
Yeah,
there's
basically. But I've tried Zoom and the quality is not really that nice because it bugs a lot and it's also the camera quality. The camera quality, maybe not camera quality, but the screen quality is
mm,
sometimes bad. So I don't think Zoom is a good idea. And I don't know which software these other content creators use.
Teams works well. I'm not saying, look, there are much better apps. I'm saying if you're aiming for digital productions, there are better apps. Do you understand that? Obviously, but a lot of people do use Teams, for example. And then what happens is that when you are, so you're going to get the raw video. Do you understand, right? Then you must go put it through an editing process to make it look better, to put brightness where it needs to put on and spotlight where it needs to. And change obviously, you understand, like, so you will need obviously, but you need a good camera. I'm saying like it's also depends on the camera on your PC. Do you understand? Or if you're recording it on your phone, which is also possible, then you must you must have a high quality recording. Just change the settings to make it the maximum resolution that you can have, and then tell the other person to listen, like, because their camera is their camera. Do you understand? So they must also then make sure that it's on the highest resolution, good camera, whatever it is, so that you can get the quality that you do. You understand? The thing is that the very high quality ones are obviously, like, for example, the easiest ones is to look like at CNN, for example, right? So that is done, I'm saying, with massive production, with, you understand, where they are doing, let's say they're doing like panel discussions, or they are like they're crossing over to somebody. That's another studio with its own like a high definition camera, whatever it may be, right? But again, like I say, so again, we'll look at, let's say, the Mac G1, right? That's a studio recording. It's a studio recording. So like those are cameras that are set up very expensive. Obviously, like like no expense spared, whatever it is, the same Jurassic Park. But you understand, like, that's what you need to note. But again, like, I've done enough also. I'm saying just on Teams, right? That turned out
Okay.
really well. I'm saying to you, because the thing is, again, the sound quality must be good, and then the video quality must be definitely better than visual. You understand? So each person mustn't be like stop and starting and that type of stuff. There mustn't be glitches and that type. Otherwise, you must say, listen, like, before you start recording, or when it starts doing that, you need to pause the recording and say, we need to fix this, we need to fix that, and then continue the recording then onwards. You understand? And edit those stuff out. But does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, oh yeah, we wanted to ask about so the thing is, I am not in charge of the like the video, you understand? So you must approach Grant to maybe allow, I don't even know who the lecturer is, right, for video, you understand? To go and see the studios there. I'm saying the recording studios, the TV recording ones, right? The video recording. I can only show you like the station studios, so the BMH radio ones, right? So that, if you would like to Um, Oof. You must pick a weekend, eh? But it must obviously be before, like I'm saying, before the end of May. And up to and including that last weekend of May, that we have class. Let's just pick a weekend that you want to come, right? Obviously, I'll be giving class because I'm on campus every single Saturday, right? And I will I will take you through how a studio it works. And then you may play around in the production studio. Do you understand? Right. Like you can play around with obviously how to play on the playback systems, using the mic, do a little bit of a, like I say, like a faux show, whatever it is. And that's the extent that I can give you access to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
Because yeah.
I just want to know the one you say you are able to show me. Is it the one that has a sort of setup where you can include multiple mics at once? Because I just want to know how to
Yes.
set everything up.
No, that one is it's a station studio. So like we spend a lot of money because obviously like the third years need to learn from an actual studio with obviously the desks that are used in commercial stations with the playback system that is used in predominant amount of commercial stations. You understand? So it's a properly set up radio studio. Do you understand?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. It's not a podcasting one, right? It's a this is like a station. This is for BMH radio, right?
Yeah.
Does that make
Okay,
sense?
but I'd still like to come check it out anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I have no problem with that. I mean that's cool. But we must arrange then beforehand. Katlego, where are you based? You're also based in Gauteng. Where are you based? I don't know if some people are in Durban or not. Oh, in Pretoria, yeah. Because does you are in Durban, not you in Joburg, eh? Okay, so
Centurion.
Centurion. Yeah. So I'm saying,
Yeah.
should you
So
all want to come, I would rather have you all on the same day. Does that make sense? So that it is
yeah.
done like and dusted there. Um, but that's the
Can we
extent.
do that after the submissions so that we know that the heavy lifting is out of the
Then
way?
you can only do it on the, yeah. Let me just have a look.
It has to
That
be
day
after the
is the,
31st.
it'll be the first, yeah, the first, Saturday the
Yeah,
first. Yeah,
that would be
that's right.
nice. Then at
Okay.
least it's not heavy lifting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay, we can arrange for then. All right.
Thank you.
Um, if there's nothing else, then let us again. Let me just look at the date again. I just want to close now. Okay. So the 27th, hey? 27th is when we'll meet again. Okay.
Yeah.
But I will
Yes,
remind
sir.
you. Okay. Good. Good luck with it. Enjoy it. So like aim for a great job. I'm saying to you like of doing it, and yeah, and then we'll chat then. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Night. Night. Night.